So, should we be getting a microphone for Coconut at this point?
I don't know if Coconut has anything to say. I think she thinks more on the inside, like Silent Bob,
What do you think? Say,
but adorable.
say something.
I'm
All
starting
right,
to, I'm starting to think you're coconuts.
I am Coconuts. Okay, you ready to go?
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Rockman Power Hour, a podcast where we talk to the most interesting people in the world of pop culture and everything in between. And this week on the show, we are joined by a veritable legend, Lloyd Kaufman from TROMA, and some very important players in the TROMA crew.
Yeah, absolutely, including Catherine Corcoran, who was in the Terrifier film. And when I tell people this story, you'll hear me say this in this little. You know what, Jason? I think I'm gonna leave the stories told in the video. So before I say that, as I sound like Porky Pig, I will say that trauma to me meant so much to me, especially as like a 12, 13-year old who's renting videos at a time when they didn't really care who was renting the videos. And
Yeah.
I'm like seeing all these boobs and blood, and I see the Toxic Avenger and everything that happens in that film. And I just remember being like, I shouldn't be watching this.
Oh, no,
And
TROMA.
yeah,
I think they were like, even me growing up, they were the rite of passage. They were the the first B movies that I remember seeing. I remember watching Toxic Avenger. I remember picking it off the shelf at the video store and going, "What the hell is this?" And I just remember going, "This is bananas. How can you make a movie like this? This is amazing. It's like nothing
mhm,
like I've seen before." And it's just nice to be able to get a chance to talk to Lloyd, and to
mhm,
see that even at his age now, when he's into his 80s, he hasn't lost his adversarial spirit. He hasn't lost
yeah,
his he hasn't lost any of his spark, and it's incredible. The other thing too is, with this new Toxic Avenger movie coming, I
yeah,
think the Trauma is going to get a little injection of interest. I think
yeah.
like
From the new generation and stuff. Yeah,
100%. And I think a lot of
mm,
people are going to see that movie. They're going to go, "What is this?"
yeah,
And I think they're going to go back and watch some of the catalog that they've been putting up for years. And um, the reason why we were able to talk to the Trauma people was because they were here with Lloyd. And Lloyd was accepting a Lifetime Achievement Award from Fantasia, which was
mm,
unbelievable to see. And then
yeah,
right after they gave him that award, they showed the documentary Occupy Can. And when you see, being somebody who's been to con, and I've seen, not the festival, but I've seen what it's like there, and I know how that place works.
yeah,
They were always underdogs,
yeah,
and they've been underdogs, and to have it documented, I mean, that documentary was really, really good. It
yeah,
was really
yeah.
something special.
Yeah, and that Doug character who was the film's dedicated to him, and I only realized that he passed away
Yeah.
at the end, and he was a pivotal, kind of more crazier character in another documentary they made called All You Can,
Mhm.
with the pun intended. And it is interesting to see just a little bit more of a mature role he took, and kind of like a micro leadership of the Trauma team, if you will, especially amongst the people who pretty much volunteered their time to go raise hell at the Cannes Film Festival. Now Lloyd is, Lloyd just inspires people to come from near and far to spend all their time. I've read his books. I have his book, Make Your Own Damn Movie. I actually won a DVD set at a Fantasia Film Festival many years ago, because I remembered his rules on set. It's like safety to people, safety to
Yeah.
people's property, and make a good movie. And I just remember, like, Jay and I lined up so early because we're like, we cannot miss this. This is the most important thing we'll ever see. And I remember my first Montreal Comic Con ever. Like, besides thinking it was very cool that Lou Ferrigno was there, Lloyd Kaufman was there, and I bought a small fortune's worth of stuff, considering my ability to have my own money back then was pretty
Yeah.
scarce, and I spent a king's ransom on the Trauma team booth. Some movies I still haven't seen yet, but I still have the box set
Yeah.
and his autograph, and it just meant the world back then, and just how accessible he is, and it's lovely, and you know who's lovely too is his daughter, who is the director of this documentary, and
Yeah.
his other daughter Charlotte was the one that filmed the majority of it, but Lily Hayes Kaufman is the director of this particular movie, and before you got to sit down with the Godfather of Gore himself, Lloyd Kaufman, I got to meet up with Lily just for a few minutes right after the screening, and this is how it went. I am at Fantasia with Lily Hayes Kaufman. So, Occupy Con, this is a documentary about the Trauma team's experience in 2013 at the Cannes Film Festival and all the hopes and dreams and missteps. And what was it like for you to see all of it? And how long did it take to actually put this film together?
So this film is a real Trauma team effort. There have been so many team members who worked on it, and this was shot starting in 2013, and we're here now in 2025.
Wow.
And then editing, when you're shooting, you're sort of, Charlotte Kaufman, our cinematographer, was shooting and editing as she was going along. And then I really stepped in 2020. Actually, it was during the pandemic when another Trauma film, #Shakespeare Shitstorm, was premiering right here at Fantasia when we were really getting into the weeds on it. So it's been about a 5-year process to go through all of the footage and put it all together. But I worked with another editor named Brian McNulty, who also has been in the Trauma world for a long time. And then here we are today.
My co-host Jason and I were laughing particularly hard at all the titles and captions. Who was the brain behind that?
I would say, it's a team effort, but really, if you laughed hard, I would definitely credit Brian on that.
This is an amazing thing. You've seen your father go through all sorts of ups and downs, and it's interesting showing him at one part of the movie. It's just like, yeah, the business is terrible, but still, he goes on. What is it like to stand next to your father in his highest of moments and his lowest?
He is Uncle Lloydie. He perseveres. He doesn't stop. Since I was a child, my infancy, until now, seeing him going and fighting for independent cinema. And I think sort of a real high was last week. We just were at, San Diego Comic-Con, and seeing him on stage at Hall H in front of 6,500 people he handed the mop to Macon Blair for the reimagining of The Toxic Avenger. And just seeing sort of the incredible amount of respect for him and his legacy, Toxic Avenger's legacy, Troma's legacy, has just been that's an incredible high. So it's been pretty exciting. And then coming here right after is just an incredible place, because this is a place of true lovers of film and independent film supporters. Yeah. So this is another incredible high that we're on, and it's really great to be here together with him and with my sisters, Lisbeth Kaufman and Charlotte Kaufman.
Thanks very much. Lovely person. And, if you felt that was kind of like just a tip of what an interview is, the interview that Jason has with her and Lloyd and Catherine is awesome. And I watched that one. And as much as all of you are looking forward to listening and watching it, it was lovely for me to be able to witness it, because my ass was at work.
Yeah.
So I couldn't be there for that one. But it was it's a damn good interview, Jason. And it's cool that Lloyd is just such a personable, consistently Uncle Lloyd, not only on camera but off camera too.
Yeah.
That everybody who meets him just walks away feeling like they've really met someone special.
He gave me his business card with his phone number on it.
Yeah.
And he said, if you're ever in New York, come visit me in Long Island and you can stay with me. He goes, we have an extra bedroom. We call it the Roger Corman suite. You're welcome to stay with me. And I was like, is this really happening? I was like, what?
That's
but
amazing.
he was just very nice. And I mean, I think the like you'll see in the interview, I think and you watched the documentary,
yeah.
I thought the documentary was super, super emotional. I thought, I loved his stance in the documentary, where he was, there was a point where people were complaining they didn't have rain ponchos, and he's like, rain ponchos, like, because we never had rain ponchos. We used to fly in the rain. We'd fall asleep on the beach. We didn't get sick. It only made us stronger. So it showed you that this guy he's there to push people.
Yeah.
And you need people like that. And this society we live in where but at the same time, like you're saying, safety is important to him. So he's not going to put people in danger, but he does believe that you have to push extra hard. And I
Mm,
think that's the reason why Troma's existed for so long
hmm.
is, the people that he has, that he brings in, learn from him, and then they go on to be powerhouses.
Yeah.
And
And
you
speak.
look,
Yeah. Sorry.
I know you get, like, you look at the people that have come out of Troma. Obviously there's so many that there's marquee ones that everyone talks about, but there's so many people that have gone through that system,
Hmm.
and they've come out stronger and been some of the brightest in entertainment. So obviously, you can look at this, you can look at the movies they make and go, oh, okay, well, they're not like award winning movies, and there are B movies and they're not for everyone. But regardless of what you think of what comes out of Troma, there's a
Hmm.
work ethic that comes out of there.
Yeah.
And that is what's so admirable. It's so admirable. And I think that speaks to everyone. Everyone can understand hard work pays off and consistency pays off. And I really believe that this next chapter of Lloyd's life is going to be one where he's going to be heralded a bit, like Stan Lee was. And I think Toxic Avenger is really going to open up doors, in the sense, not open up doors, but it's going to shine a light on him and on Troma. And I think that's long overdue.
Yeah, and I think it's also amazing too. Lily Hayes told me that how at the San Diego Comic-Con, biggest Comic-Con in the world, he was like, celebrated,
Yeah.
and that backstage people like James Gunn were coming up and hugging everybody because they're part of the Troma team. They understood it.
Yeah.
And now, like a Troma fan, a Toxic Avenger fan, is a director and writer of Superman. I mean, it doesn't get bigger than that. And the last time Lloyd was in town with the return from Nukem High, I will tell this story in this next little portion, but lo and behold, the Troma team are very nice, and they were very nice to me, and it was lovely to be able to hang out with them, and it's really cool to see where people go, like you said, because when I put on Terrifier and I saw that woman who gets put upside down and saw it
Yeah.
in a very particular way, I'm like, Katie, you know. So
Yeah.
that's the reaction to it, and it's amazing to see when people are just in these small little films and what they will do. But if you don't mind, I would like to play this little quick interview with Catherine Corcoran of not only Return to Nukem High Part 1 and 2, but Terrifier. I'm here at Fantasia with well, I don't know about an old friend, but definitely an old acquaintance. This is Catherine Corcoran.
Old friends. You were here the first time I was here. We could call each other old friends for sure.
This has been such an amazing 12 years, especially to look back, but to see you and the returning cast, I didn't know you would be here today. So I was there and I'm like, oh my God, it's like watching a reunion of Dawson's Creek or something. This is great.
Oh my God, that means so much.
But it was really interesting to see all of you living it, because at that point, that had just happened to you. The last time we hung out, little bit of backstory. I was hanging out the Troma team bus, and fun was had, and I ended up leaving about 6 o'clock in the morning. And you guys, just back then, it was like pure summer camp on steroids. You guys all had these songs you would sing. Like, do you remember that? You're all
Karaoke. Doug Sackman, dear friend, and someone we miss dearly and are still grieving, used to drive this bus all over the world. And he always had it affixed to do karaoke 24/7. And we sang and danced on top of that bus, I believe.
Yeah, and you were also like doing cheers, but you would cheers to people, and whoever weren't there, you'd scream louder. Like, it was very it was very cute to just being able to witness the behind the scenes, be a fly on the wall. I kind of felt like the guy in Almost Famous, and everybody else was Stillwater. It's very cool.
Oh my God, that means so much. I definitely I would say you're closer to Stillwater than the rest of us, but I'll take it.
So something interesting. The first time I did see the film Terrifier, I had heard about it, and I'm walking into the room, and someone's watching. And I'm just like, I think that's Katie. That is Katie. Oh my God, what's happening to her? You have a very famous death scene. So like an iconic death scene, but it's interesting that I had met Damien eventually, and I said, oh yeah, you had Katie in your film, and you're like, yeah, we are so excited to have her. So it's like, your reputation with Troma preceded you at that point. Isn't that kind of cool that even your first film laid this foundation for the genre world?
Yeah, it's kind of wild. As I've looked, I don't think I was realizing it at the time.
Yeah.
Oh, Lloyd Kaufman. Everybody, we're doing it.
His pants get higher every time I see him.
As do mine. We're one in.
We should pull up our pants in tribute to Lloyd. In tribute to Lloyd.
But no,
I didn't. It's so funny that you say that, because that is something that like I think I've forgotten as time has gone on, as the franchise has gotten so big. Lloyd, do you want to be part of our interview? He's like, done. No, no, I'm done. I want to go have a beer and smoke my vape. That's what he's saying. But no, as time that was kind of the thing, and I forgot at the time, Jenna and Canal and I were the named talent, which is wild, because Jenna had done the Vampire Diaries, and we were both on studio films at the time. I was on this film Chuck with Leah Schreiber and Naomi Watts that I got because of I had this film that had premiered at Cannes, and I was also on a Lionsgate horror, and Jenna was on the Bye Bye Man, and they had to shoot around us. Wow. Because we didn't, and Damien was so great that he wanted to have us that badly, which is wild now, because people call me clamoring to try to get an audition for a Terrifier movie, which is just like so wild to me now. So it's really humbling to know that like it came all from Lloyd.
And do you think your TROMA summer camp experience prepared you for, like, when you read the script and you're like, they want to do what to me? I got this.
Phased. I honestly, I don't know what that says about me, but I never thought twice about it, honestly, until we filmed it, and then it was very dangerous. And they didn't do it safely, which we've talked about and publicly and learned and grown from that time. But I mean, at the time I was like, oh, okay, like, because at that time it was old hat. I'd done that, and then Doug Sackman, who Damien Leone actually had like kind of apprentice a little bit under. I was very involved in their projects. Effects were old hat at that point. So it didn't really faze me until we got there. And I will say, Lloyd has said, I've never finished Terrifier, no safety to humans, which is a TROMA rule of production. Safety to humans first. So it made me feel confident in taking it on. I don't know how smart that confidence was when we didn't execute it as safely as we could. But, it definitely made me kind of down for anything. And I'm still, it takes a lot to rile me in a room. That's for sure.
We're at the Fantasia Film Festival. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
So, Jason, you are a very memorable person. Everybody remembers it. Like, people come up to you from 30 years ago when you were in LA and Slaves on Dope. I have witnessed this with my own eyes. I have seen this happen. I've even seen you speak and people recognize your voice from another side of the room or your band name or something. This does not happen to me very often. So when the TROMA team remembered little old me, I was like, Jesus, that was 12 years ago. I'm so glad I never dye my hair,
Yeah, you're memorable.
And definitely want to give a shout out to Clayton and Astra from that magical night on the TROMA team bus. Just kind of felt like a fly on the wall, and in the best possible way, and just saw everybody kind of like just at the end of summer camp where they're still having fun, but you could tell they've been through some shit. And I always like, wow, that must have been a tough shoot. But as tough as a shoot it was, the Cannes Film Festival experience was also kind of grueling, and it was cool to actually finally see what they went through.
Well, yeah. But it was they're very it doesn't surprise me that they remember you, because I think they're very genuine. I don't think they're and I think they're super appreciative. Like they're just really nice. They're really nice. And I got that vibe from the documentary, and then when I talked to them the next day, I was like, you guys are really nice people. And Lloyd's super cool. Like he's just super cool. He's Lloyd Kaufman, so he's like always got this bigger than life persona, but he's just really kind. He's just like, at the base of it, he's a very kind guy. And I was glad I got to talk to him about his wife and about the relationship between him and his wife and Lily's mom and stuff. And it was great. It was rad. It was really rad. It was really, really cool to have them in Montreal and to get a chance to talk to them.
It was absolutely awesome. And I was like actually excited to hear what you had to say and what he had to say to you. And that's kind of nice. And I think that's a nice thing about being on a podcast that you would listen to if you weren't on it.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Yeah. But here's your conversation with Uncle Lloyd.
Check it out.
All right. Really, really excited to be here with Lloyd, Lily Hayes, and Catherine. We're here to talk about the movie that we saw last night, Occupy Cannes. I really, really enjoyed this. for so many reasons on so many levels. Obviously, just the surface level of an appreciation of your work and of TROMA, but there was a deeper emotional level that I really, really felt as someone who's been an independent artist my whole life in one way or another. The struggles of trying to rail against the institution, you really, really feel it there, and you see the highs and the lows. When you're going somewhere, you're on a shoestring budget, you're trying to make an impact, you feel like you're going to get swallowed up, but you still find a way to pierce through. And it's a really endearing story, and it's really touching.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks so much for being here today. And it's such an honor to speak. And we're just so thrilled to be here at Fantasia, which is just sort of the ideal home for us to make our world premiere.
Yeah.
It's been so exciting to be here with so many people who truly love film and really support independent art and get it. And so it's really wonderful to hear that the film resonated with you and that you felt all those moments with us, along that journey. And the struggle is so real. It was so real, when we made this film, that was 10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And then today, and we're feeling it as we're, getting our film out there and getting our voice heard. And TROMA is just a microcosm for so many filmmakers all over the world, and artists and musicians and, creators who are trying to get their art seen and heard and their voices heard.
And it's nice to see the people that did come out of TROMA still come back and give it respect. Like someone like yourself, Catherine, who's had a lot of success outside of TROMA. Obviously, what you did in Terrifier really, really made people listen, and people go like, oh, wow. But it's just nice to see you come back, still be around for this, still to work in that system. It seems like a system that people really, really enjoy. It's almost like if you have your group of high school friends that you're really, really tight with, and you come back to them and you still have that appreciation for each other.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it is. I make jokes that, we have some sort of Stockholm syndrome that Lloyd has. Lloyd has like a dog whistle, and we all turn. But I actually think it's I say that, but I'm obviously completely kidding, because I think we actually it is like a true love for that, and the difference between TROMA and something like Terrifier, even though they're both very low budget things, is that Lloyd has been doing this so long that he fosters this kind of creative community that is so wildly supportive of the people that come through it. And he takes risks on people long before anybody else will even give us the time of day. Yeah. I mean, I was 18 years old when Lloyd cast me in Return to Nukem High, and we screened it here at Fantasia, and it was my first time doing press junkets and my first time going to film festivals. And I was so young, and both Lloyd and Pat, and you see this in Lily Hayes' film, really shepherded me and mentored me, and I didn't even realize at the time what a crash course I was getting.
Yeah.
And I think it has made me a better filmmaker and a strong filmmaker. And you see it, when you see people, I'll run into people, people who are working on Superman now at Comic-Con, and they run over and give me a huge hug because they also come from TROMA, and they know that it's this weird kind of beautiful kinship.
Yeah.
I think there's this camaraderie that's like, if you've gone through TROMA, you can work on our sets. Yeah. Because we know you can do it, and he encourages.
It's almost like a hazing.
Yes and no. I mean, yes, for sure, but but not really, because I have to reiterate that Lloyd is so adamant about keeping his sets safe.
Yeah.
About accountability. People do get fired on TROMA sets. We joke and there's a silliness, but he does take it very seriously. And I always say he makes stupid movies for smart people. Because he's very aware of what he's saying. There's always a method to the madness. He's always commenting on something. I think that's really why everybody is. My mom Freudian slips all the time and calls TROMA trauma, and I do think we're trauma bonded in a real way. Yeah. That's irreplaceable. I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Lloyd, there's a moment in the movie where some of the crew are complaining because they can't find rain ponchos. And you let whoever was holding the camera know, rain ponchos. I slept on the fucking beach. and I never got sick. It made me stronger.
Well,
I think there is a point too where you kind of have to let people know what you've gone through.
I think the film shows how warm and sensitive I am. And how
I actually think it does, but yeah,
it is. There were people weeping in the movie last night. The people in front of us, guy was literally crying.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Touching.
I really felt touched by the movie,
and how nice of Rockman to interview us too. Thank you.
it's a pleasure.
Thank you.
It was so nostalgic to see all the footage that Lily Hayes put together. Showing you through the years. And I remember a lot of those moments. Being a fan for a long time. I remember all the crazy stuff you've done, but in the name of art and in the name of filmmaking, and to see you kind of at this point in your career. Being appreciated, getting awards. It's a nice thing to see as someone who, I remember seeing The Toxic Avenger I'm 54, so I remember seeing The Toxic Avenger for the first time. It was one of those things that you would see at either someone would rent it or it would be, exactly.
Piece of rubber, right? Make your own damn stars. I've written 7 books, one of which, in fact, I signed. There were people waiting in line.
Hey, I'll bring all my Blu-ray covers to get signed. Don't worry. But
shows you don't have to have George Clooney or Ryan Reynolds. By the way, they ought to be opening their mouths about Trump, and they're all hiding. They're letting the waves go. They're doing commercials for betting and liquor, but nothing about what's happening in the world of art now with Trump, right, taking control, trying to control the culture.
And you know what? So seeing The Toxic Avenger for the first time, I remember the impact it had on me, and it made me say, whoever's making these movies doesn't care what you think. They're making them because they need to make them. They want to get this out in the world.
Oh, thank you. That's great.
And when you're saying, about political, yeah, I agree. People need to have more of an opinion, and people need to have more of a voice, especially one from an educated point, and not just and this must be funny for you to see how the world, if anybody could benefit from the way social media operates now, would be someone like you and TROMA, because this is like heaven for you guys to get your messaging across.
Well, it's
imagine if this existed when you guys started.
It clearly, TROMA has adapted new technology.
Sure.
We got into video cassettes long before it became a mainstream thing, and same with DVD. People didn't even have the players but we've always had young fans working with us and for us. And they're the ones who tell us, hey, there's this great thing, DVD.
Yeah.
And we did it. And then streaming. Lisbeth Kaufman was interning at a little place building streaming things, platform, whatever you call them. And this was more than 15 years ago, and we did it. And TROMA Now is our streaming service. Is the only thing we have right now that's slightly profitable. And it's very important for TROMA fans to watch TROMA Now, because there are lots of filmmakers who you've never heard of who are the James Gunns of the future. By the way, James Gunn and I came here in 1997
I know.
with Mitch and Kareem, and they talked about you guys, and they were crazy punk rockers and smoke, getting drunk and pot. And they talked about you.
And it was so nice to see James.
Last night they talked about you.
It was just nice to see James at the beginning of the screening saying a couple of words, where he's at, and not forgetting.
We didn't expect that. I had no idea.
If I'm not mistaken, were you guys the first to do the green, kind of the toxic green color VHS
yes,
tapes?
And the reason for that is that the MPAA, the censor board, which is owned and controlled by the oligopoly of studios, whatever you want to call them, conglomerates. The MPAA, if we had any blood, they would cut it out. No, it didn't matter what it was. So that's where the green came from.
Okay.
The Wall Street Journal said I was too cheap to buy red paint, but that is not true. It's because the green would have been more successful. Yet, in Class of Newcomb High, we had a beautiful monster, and it got shot, and yellow fluid comes out of it, and they cut that out. I mean, you can't even have yellow. It was ridiculous. All our movies were destroyed by censorship, but over the years, the director's cuts get out there, and eventually a movie like Terra Firma, 20 years later, it finally made a profit.
That's crazy.
So word of mouth helps. Word of mouth.
Word of mouth definitely helps.
And that TROMA's fan fueled. The fans, everyone who's ever worked for us in our films, from the production assistant all the way up to James Gunn, they've all been fans.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is, Lloyd? That this is, I'm sorry, I'm asking.
No, please.
I'm curious, but we're here. Why do you think that is? That the ratings board responds the way that it does to TROMA, because by and large, like while TROMA has its home in the genre community, by and large, the films that you make are comedies. They're satire films. Films like American Pie are just as vulgar and aggressive and have giant studio runs. I can list a million sex comedies that TROMA was making sex comedies long before those were mainstream. But Zack and Miri Make a Porno, The 40-Year-Old Virgin, American, the list goes on. Why do you think TROMA's kind of aggressive imagery and like satire gets policed?
I think it's not the content. The purpose of the Motion Picture Association of America is it's supposed to protect the public from whatever dangerous. I don't know what they're protecting, but they're basically protecting the elite oligopoly from competing. The Thing, a masterpiece. The Thing was made in 1982. Yeah. It's full of violence. It is a masterpiece. Then comes The Toxic Avenger. 2 years later, 20 minutes are taken out. Canada took 20 seconds out. France took one shot and allowed 13-year-olds. So we didn't. So many talented filmmakers and little studios were put out of. They couldn't. They would bring their movie to. They'd have one film, bring it to the theaters, all chopped up, and now nobody shows up. That's why Toxic Avenger took a while to gain any kind of public, because the first theatrical versions were unwatchable. And same with my brother's film, Mother's Day. Yeah. So many careers, not just TROMA, but serious careers were cut off at the legs, and people are out there, waiting on tables again. It's very sad.
And the crazy thing is that, it was really thanks to the video store that all these movies, like the Thing did miserably theatrically. It didn't do. It hardly made any money. Now it's considered a masterpiece. So it is nice to see things that get appreciated years later, and I look back on it. They were just maybe a little ahead of its time. And same thing with Toxic Avenger. I mean, I'm sure that this new Toxic Avenger movie is going to be a huge hit, and I'm sure people are going to. And I think people are going to go back and go, well, I want to see the original. And it's just nice to see something that you guys have put into the universe getting appreciated. And
$50 million a movie that made with sawdust.
But isn't that great to know that your idea merits a $50 million production?
We were just at San Diego Comic-Con last week, and it was an incredible moment in TROMA's history to see Lloyd and TROMA and Toxie up in Hall H in front of 6,500 people being honored, and as Dad's passing the mop to Macon Blair and the new generation of Toxic Avenger. I mean, it was incredible, so.
The new Toxic Avenger is terrific.
Yeah,
it really
that's what I'm hearing.
It's better than the first one, and it's a real film. The first one is, our Toxic Avenger was kind of a cartoon, really. Even though it was emasculated, it's still a goofy cartoon. There's nothing, you don't get scared. There's nothing really difficult. Nobody ever sent any hate mail, except one hate mail because the dog was killed. Yeah. We had to kill a dog. So what? Oh no, we did not kill a dog. In fact, the effect is so bad. It's the bullet hit somebody found a piece of carpet that slightly matched the dog.
The dog's fur. Yeah.
So the close up of the dog hit is. But everything was cut out, everything. But the dog is the only. Nobody cared about the child getting his head squashed by the
dog.
It's the dog. Yeah.
But just back to Comic-Con, I mean, it was really such. TROMA is just having such an incredible moment, and it was just so surreal because, in the green room for Hall H, we ran into Trey Parker and Matt Stone, and then we, outside we're having a meeting, and the James Gunn's Superman is playing on repeat, the trailer. I mean, it's just everywhere we were at that moment in Comic-Con, and Catherine is on these big you were having your own big panels for your films. I mean, it was just so many people who have launched their careers at TROMA and who are now off in the world doing big, huge projects are all there converging at once. So, I mean, it was really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the fullness of time, Lloyd will go down as the man who is responsible for so much of what we are seeing as great pop culture and great films. I think, I think unfortunately it takes people a long time to realize it sometimes, but he will. He's legendary. And that's not something that like we say just to say. We say that a lot in genre, like, oh, iconic and, like legend, but he is. He truly is, and you see it now, especially with the themes in Occupy Can. We're seeing it now more than ever. What happened 2 weeks ago with South Park and CBS, I think all of us who know where that comes from, were smiling because Trey and Matt are clearly such disciples of Lloyd Kaufman to their core, and I mean, it's incredible to see, and it's well deserved, long overdue.
Matt Stone recognized Lily Hayes, I guess, because she unfortunately looked like me, and she ran over to you and hugged you, and we had a nice reunion in the green room at the Hall H. It was quite nice, very touching.
It's what else was touching in the movie was us getting to see a bit of the relationship between your parents, and it's clearly they clearly really love each other, and it was nice to see. I think your mom's a saint, but it's so and when I found out what her job was in real life, I was like, man, talk about somebody that would probably have to go to work, and people would probably be like, listen, your husband.
Yes.
But it was just nice to see her being, at the end of the day, your biggest cheerleader. And I really do believe that. Like, my wife and I are very close, and I couldn't do anything that I do creatively if my wife wasn't in my corner helping me and doing, a lot of the behind the scenes stuff and just being my cheerleader. So it was just nice to see even you at this point in your career still looking to her sometimes and having, having her kind of be maybe the voice of reason or maybe the pillar. And it was nice to see, because I don't think we've ever seen, you have that pillar and us have like peeling that, curtain back and seeing that. That was really nice.
I'm so glad that you noticed that. I mean, there's such a yin and yang relationship between the two of them.
Big
and
time.
it's something that my sisters and I mean, I should mention also, I made this film with my sisters.
Right.
Charlotte Kaufman, who's an incredible cinematographer. Her latest film just premiered at Sundance. It's called The Alabama Solution.
Nice.
And Lisbeth Kaufman. But anyway, so I mean, this is something that we've observed, our whole lives. Is our mom is this, this Southern belle who's very serious and has this incredible job in mainstream Hollywood. And then, and yet at the same time, like you said, she's our dad's biggest cheerleader and supporter. And yet she has managed to find the balance. And, I mean, he really pushes people's buttons and you hear he talks about the devil worshipping media conglomerates. And then she is out there helping and bringing the biggest films from the media conglomerates to New York State.
Yeah,
I mean, that is her job.
I know, and I don't know if that was lost on some of the audience, if they didn't understand. I'm sure most did, but when I saw that, I was like, oh man, like that is definitely something that's going to be that I didn't know, and that I'm going to be watching as a theme in this movie, and it was handled so beautifully. It just shows you that a lot of time, whatever your work is in real life, doesn't necessarily, you never know what's on the other side of that person, or what somebody does that you know from the office or from your work, what they're doing in their spare time, and they just, your mom just happens to be married to one of the biggest genre guys in the world. That's pretty cool. It was touching, the scene when they're in their bedroom together and they turn the light off and they imagine their camera. It was really cute.
Aww. I love that moment with them.
Also, I think your mom, I've got to be kind of like the long lost distant cousin that gets to visit their family, and having been so young when that started, they really became like a second family to me. And your mom does have a rebellious streak. I've gone on some crazy adventures with the two of them, some led by Pat, but I do remember when I was in college, I lost my scholarship because I did return to Newcomb High.
Oh, wow.
I was in a performance program, and I was attendance based, and I came back late because I'd filmed the movie, and then we were going to Cannes, and I left early, and I knew what I was doing, and I lost the scholarship. And when which is hilarious because I was trying to do, what, to Pat's point, trying to do what the program was training me to do. And what Pat did was, when the film got into MoMA, Contender Series, which is a series alongside some of these big studio films at the Museum of Modern. Oh yeah, at the Museum of Modern Art's Contender Series in New York City, we screened with Wolf of Wall Street and Blue Jasmine and all of these films that are big studio films. She said, you need to put an invitation in every single one of your professors' mailboxes.
Yeah.
And she told me to do that, and I did. Not one of them showed up, but she also wrote a letter to the head of my department that she thought it was ridiculous that I didn't. It didn't help me get my scholarship back, but the New York State Film Commissioner,
Imagine.
on my behalf, told me to make them mad and put invites in. And I think that's the takeaway that Lily Hayes does so beautifully in the film, is that she really showcases what mentors they are and what a family they are of champions for creatives of all types.
Yeah, and never stop believing in yourself. Yeah. Because you really, really never know where it can take you. And when people say no, just find a way to go around them or just go through them. Yeah. It's the only way. Thank you for taking some time to chat today.
Are you working on a project now?
I work on several projects. I have a podcast. I used to be a radio host. I used to work for a big media company for 14 years, and then we went our separate ways, and I decided to keep doing this. I don't think they liked the fact that I was doing this, and I was in a band, and I was on Sharon and Ozzy Osbourne's record label. So I've done a lot of stuff. So I've been around a lot of people that have been very much, I was around Lemmy a lot at one point. So when I saw Lemmy's song in the movie, it made me really happy. So I think we're all like-minded in the sense that sometimes when you have to get stuff made, you just have to have it made. And when you get to a certain point of influence, it's nice when you give back. It's nice when you help that next generation, put your hand down and go, hey, get up, get in here. Let's get working. Let's get some stuff going, and not just gatekeeping.
Well, Roger Corman has been a friend of mine for over 50 years, and he loves Lily Hayes, and he was executive producer with Julie Corman, and helped TROMA over the years. Sure. Wonderful. And Stan Lee also, speaking of pop culture and Fantasia. Yeah. I think TROMA would have had a much tougher, we've had a tough time, but Stan got the Toxic Avenger comic book into Marvel, and Roger gave us all sorts of media contacts and buyers to talk to. They were great people, and enjoyed they understood TROMA.
Yeah, they get it, and I think the people that do get it hold it really close in their heart. So I think a lot of people are going to enjoy this movie, and I think you're going to get a little after the new Toxic Avenger comes out. I think you guys are going to get a little wave of attention, and it's nice that this is here for people to see as well. Yes. Thank you, guys.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Big shout out to Patrick LaBarbachon for holding that camera for like 22 minutes.
Yeah, I know. Crazy. He didn't, Patrick was working, was helping us out because you were at Osheaga. It was a crazy, people don't realize, we go from Montreal Comic Con, we go into Fantasia, then we go into Osheaga and festivals and stuff, and it just gets nutty. So Patrick's been a real good help when we're stuck and we need somebody, and he's been great. So it was really nice to have him there, and to have him hold that camera. But I kind of felt bad. And he's like, no, it's okay. I've got a image stabilizer on, and I'm like, fuck, okay. But it was fun.
You did a good job.
Did a great job. And it was really nice to chat with them. They were super, super cool. I've got this box set that I got with all the Toxic Avenger movies in it. Well, the four, including Citizen Toxie, which is
there's four of them besides the new one. There is four.
Yeah. But I never thought I would need a 4K box set of Toxic Avenger, but I haven't. And then Lloyd was
when you watch that kid's head get crushed by a car, now you can see it in 4K definition.
Oh yeah. But it was cool. He wrote Toxie loves jolly, juditional jolly Jason. And he kept writing different little things. Toxie loves jolly, jubilant Jason. and he just kept writing different. Jason is a jubilant thank you. Jason is a jubilant thank you, and he's
Mhm.
just very cool. He was very cool, and I, yeah, I like the fact that he beats. He moves to the beat of his own drum. He seems like a
Yeah.
guy that doesn't take any bullshit, and yeah, it's nice to see people that have been able to live their life as themselves and not had to fucking crush, like fold over for anybody or take it, take it from the man. Like he just always gave it back. And if you're somebody who's got a bit of an adversarial spirit,
Mhm.
you're gonna gravitate towards guys like him for sure, for sure.
And big shout out to the Reference Point podcast who are around to be my camera people. Um, it was really cool to be able to experience that, but not just that. I didn't want to be a selfish person. I think King Wei Chu was nice enough to snap a photo of me and Lloyd, but Paulo from the Reference Point podcast is one of the biggest Trauma fans in the world. He was shaking when he was about to meet Lloyd Kaufman. And I'm kind of like, I take for granted that I've been meeting Lloyd on and off for about 16 years.
Right.
So I kind of like, okay, yeah, it's Lloyd again. But to him, it was like, this is the be all end all. He has
Yeah.
Trauma now. He's an ultimate Trauma supporter. He got the big poster signed and everything, and it just kind of reignited. I'm like, yeah, Lloyd is awesome. Okay, because
Yeah.
sometimes
He's-
in this biz, you're like, yeah, cool. All right, this is
well,
happening.
you
Ryan,
see,
you're growing wings. Oh, cool. Okay, wings. All right, nice.
well, you see
Yeah.
it through other people's eyes, right? You get to
Yeah.
see it, so it's always fun. Yeah, and they're great. You should definitely check out the Rough podcast because they're really, really good peeps.
Yeah, Reference Point represent.
I don't know if this made. I can't remember if this was in the interview or if this was after, but
Mm.
I think Lloyd said it in the interview. He said the new movie's amazing because it's better than the original one.
Oh, that is definitely. I think he mentioned something, but not those words. But
Yeah, he said it. He goes, the new one's
Yeah.
really good. He goes, it's even better than the original. It's good. He loved it. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. It's opening up
Yeah.
in like less than a month. I think the end of I think it's the end of August.
Well, I'm thrilled to say that the good people at Fantasia are doing this double screening of it
on the
at
28th.
Cinema Park on the 28th. That's
Yeah.
Thursday.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine a better time. Like I would have loved to have seen that Lord of the Rings entire thing, but I think this double feature will make my ass hurt a lot less than a walk to Mordor. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm really excited we got to talk about Trauma. I think everyone if you don't know about Trauma, and if you've never watched Toxic Avenger, and if you've never dipped your toes into the Trauma pool, you got to go check it out. You got to go check out that whole universe because it's awesome, and there's so many great. So the Kabuki, what's the name of the
Sergeant Kabuki Man, NYPD.
Yes, that movie has a box set that has been released on. I forget the name of the company. It's Trauma licensed it to them, and it looks amazing. So I don't know, man. I'm for me when I think of this stuff, it just brings back being a kid again, brings me back to being a teenager, and just discovering this stuff, getting super high, and watching Toxic Avenger. Like
you saying the words "getting super high" is
oh
very
man.
amusing
So
to me.
I gotta remember. So
yeah,
dude, 84. So yeah, I super high.
I may have been conceived when this movie was put out.
No, but I mean, I was like, it came out when I was 12, so I'm sure I saw it. I probably saw it when I was 13 or 14, and then went on to just watch it. I don't know, and the fact that he's from Jersey, and Jersey's so gross, and it just the whole thing is it's.
Speaking of gross, if you put your toes into the pool of Trauma, I really suggest you wash them immediately afterwards because it's going to be green and slimy.
Yeah. It's funny because there was a question I asked him, and I know you understood the question I said because I asked him, "Were you guys the first to do the slime green VHS tapes?" Which they were. And he said he thought I meant the slime in the movies,
general,
and I wasn't going to correct him, but they were the first to do VHS tapes in that slimy green. They looked at putting them out, and they were like, "How can we do this?" And so that's the Toxic Avenger VHS. When you would rent it, there was at one point when you were renting it, it was like green, and it was like, "What is this?" It was just the whole thing was smart. It was just smart. And guys like you and me are going to obviously gravitate towards Trauma because it speaks to us. It speaks to people that aren't afraid to do their own thing.
Yeah. And I also think, did you like me just have such severe superhero and not fatigue as the new kids will say, like, oh my God, there's so many superhero movies, I don't even know where to put them all. Back then, you had Superman,
Yeah.
you had Batman 89,
Yeah.
and this was before Batman 89.
It
This
was
was
84,
years
dude.
before.
This is like it was that dark time
Yeah.
between the Superman movies and Batman, you know?
Yes. So you have Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, and this essentially. So
Yeah.
uh, did you like rent this like I did? Just anything that seemed remotely superhero-ish, you would
Oh, yeah.
consume like a
100%.
thirsty person in a desert.
Yeah, and I remember
Yeah.
watching it going, "This isn't like Superman at all.
No.
This is really fucked up, but I
This is
like it."
fucked up. Yeah.
Yeah. It's Toxic Avengers, like, and it's it's the flagship for Trauma.
Yeah.
It's Toxie's, like, he's there. He's there. He's like, it's like Superman to DC, and Spider-Man to Marvel. Toxie's that to Trauma. It's
Speaking of Marvel, Stanley was a good friend of his, and Marvel inspired Tromaville. You know, the idea that all these movies are taking place in Tromaville and not randomly. They're all kind of connected. It's and with that, you kind of felt like you're stepping in this Troma universe, and the more you picked it up, you felt like you're part of the same collection, even if the movies had nothing to do with each other.
Yep.
So genius.
It's it's smart, and I'm glad that they're even though Lloyd says how it's been like I think it's 54 years now, or 50 whatever, but 52 or 53. But I love how he's he even says how they're not doing well, and the streaming service is the only thing and all that. But there's still a lot of people out there that love Troma. So if you have never checked out Troma, if you buy physical media, go buy their movies, buy their merch, buy everything from them, and support them, because they really are an incredible company. And you'll see after this new Toxic Avenger movies comes out, everyone's going to want to be up on Trauma's. They're going to be up on Troma's dick, man. They're going to be all up on it, right in it. And it's okay. It's a good thing.
It's a big dick.
It is. Next week on the show, we have a very, very interesting combo of people that are coming on. The movie's called Protectors of the Land. And one of the actors that we're talking with is from Schitt's Creek. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to tell you too much, but it's going to be fun. Plus, we've got some other great stuff lined up as well. We're going to be talking to some very interesting people in the next couple of months. So make sure you keep it locked here on our socials and on YouTube, on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere you can find the Rockman Power Hour. You'll find amazing, fun content. And make sure you go check out all of our content from Fantasia
and Oceaga.
We have lots of great stuff that's up there. So don't be shy. Leave us some comments, leave us support, leave us comments, leave us feedback. Let us know what you've been enjoying and what you maybe haven't been enjoying. And until next time, we will see you on the Rockman Power Hour. Hey, thanks so much for watching the podcast. We really appreciate your support. And if you're enjoying the podcast, click this link right over here to watch the next episode, and click right over here and subscribe. And that way you won't miss anything.